Dear students, let us continue our study in this paper, which is environmental chemistry, and after going through the various types of pollutions, let us now in this particular module understand that what are the environmental friendly practices and the industrial processes which we need to adopt to find a solution to this environmental pollution. So, in this regard, if we look at the learning outcomes of this module, after studying this module, dear students, you shall be able to learn how different levels of different industries contribute to pollution. Know about the contribution of environmental engineering in better industrial processes. You should be able to know what are the various government policies which have been taken to control the pollution, and you should be able to evaluate the solutions or the preventing techniques which we all should take to save our environment. Environmental chemistry, as you know, is all about the scientific study of the chemical and biochemical phenomena occurring in natural places. In simple words, it is the study of chemical processes occurring in the environment. So, in these previous modules, we have done a detailed study of biogeochemical cycles of some essential elements like carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur and oxygen, and we cannot deny the importance of these elements which are required by all living organisms. The ecological balance of these cycles is responsible also for the change in climate, and this all we have studied in detail. We cannot control the environmental pollution which is generated by nature itself, like by volcanoes, landslides, etc. But we must take serious initiatives to control the pollution caused by human beings, that is by us. And of these, the significant steps are needed to control the pollution which is being done by various industries, including vehicular pollution. The industrial revolution, as we are aware, gave birth to significant contribution to the environmental pollution, and by the rising population this is even expanding. In this module, we shall focus on some of the environmental friendly practices and the industrial processes which can play significant role in the control of the industrial pollution. The better industrial processes will ensure that the disasters like Bhopal gas tragedy, Chernobyl, 3 Miles Island that we have studied in the previous modules won't occur again. Smog, you know, now darkens the sky in the cities world over, and the air we all breathe is increasingly contaminated with particulate matter and carbon monoxide. We all know that these pollutants are very hazardous to human and environmental health. Various governments are taking measures to control environment pollution, including Indian government. And there are different state policies which are also evolving depending upon the level of pollution and the type of pollution which is there in respective states. More than the governmental efforts, if each one is aware about the hazards of environmental pollution and the measures to minimize them, we can significantly contribute in improving the quality of environment that we live in. So, with this background in mind, dear students, let us study some of these measures that can be taken in front of industries, and let us be aware what are some measures which various governments like Indian government and will take Delhi government what it has done in minimizing the pollution. So, let us begin with the environmental friendly practices and industrial processes which have been adopted or which are required to be adopted by various industries. The industrial revolution has brought significant progress in all spheres of life, including the manufacturing processes that have become more productive and efficient. But this is true that nothing comes without any price. The advancement in industrial technologies, accompanied along with untreated discharge of wastewater, introduces the challenge of excessive water pollution. Industries are known to be the largest sources of water pollution, and they are responsible for more than 50% of the total water pollution. Water gets polluted by discharging wastewater or the effluent into streams, lakes or oceans which are nearby that industry. Commonly known water pollutants which you are already now aware, they are grit, asbestos, phosphates, nitrates, mercury, lead, caustic soda and other sodium compounds, sulfuric acid and petrochemicals. In addition to this, there are number of manufacturing plants who are discharging undiluted corrosives, poisons and other noxious byproducts resulting in dangerous pollution. For example, the construction industry discharges slurries of gypsum, cement, abrasives, metals and poisonous solvents. Polychlorinated biphenyl compounds, components of lubricants, plastic wrappers and adhesives are other group of contaminants that enters our food chain and cause toxicity. Also, the wastewater at high temperature is discharged by thermal power plants and this results into thermal pollution. And this decreases the dissolved oxygen in water bodies, thereby disrupting the water's ecological balance. So, all these issues we have earlier dealt up in detail, but I am revising this, and now in light of this let us see what are the different levels of industries which are contributing into industrial pollution. One is the primary level, other is the secondary level. In the primary level, there are industries which make use of raw materials, extract them so that they can be used to make the useful items. And under this you have the mining activities, forestry, fishing, which are some of the activities which are used in extraction of raw materials being used at the primary level or by these primary level industries. We have already learned how the mining activities also causes the land pollution. The mining activities are responsible for soil erosion, formation of skin holes and loss of biodiversity. Extraction of minerals also contribute to groundwater and surface water pollution. Similarly, deforestation for obtaining wood as raw material causes climate imbalance, global warming, soil erosion and floods. So, the best solution to control deforestation is employing a series of rules and laws to govern it. Also, the forest should not be cleared completely in order to control total depletion of the forest cover. Cutting must be replaced by planting young trees to replace the older ones which were cut. Coming to the secondary level. In the secondary level, there are those industries which process the raw materials produced by the primary level industries and then change them into usable products. The process involved is very much responsible for environmental pollution by releasing harmful gases into air, unwanted industrial waste which contributes to water as well as land or soil pollution. After knowing that these are the primary and secondary industries, let us look at some better industrial processes which can be employed. For any existing industry as well as new industry being set, environmental friendly practices are very, very important. Principles of engineering, soil science, biology and chemistry must be used to develop solutions to environmental problems. Efforts should be made very sincerely at all the stages to reduce waste generation, maximize the reuse, improve the recycling and ensuring proper waste disposal system. And some of these which are being implemented by industries which have better practices, let us have a look on them. One of the steps or the stages can be the industrial facilities planning. When designing a new facility or a new industry, one must keep the question in mind, how can this facility be designed so that its environmental impact can be at a minimum. For this, two factors must be considered, that is the space requirements and the material handling requirement. That is how the infrastructure will be developed about the industry, and then inside how the workflow will be there, what material will be handled. They both must be designed efficiently to minimize the waste within the process and provide optimal workflow within the facility, as well as minimize the waste for outside environment. The next stage can be, which is again very important, is the total quality management. Total quality management is a system that is used throughout the majority of manufacturing facilities and can also be applied to managing the effects of waste on the environment. For this, industrial engineers, mostly who handle this, must improve the processes and make them better on continuous basis. It is not that in initial stages only you develop, it has to be a continuous effort. No total quality management program will be able to succeed if higher management is not on board. Since they are the ones with the final say and also providing financial grant, it is important that they are brought into the process and they should be open to the idea of continuous improvement. Coming to the process design. Designing a new process to manufacture a certain product or perform a certain operation requires careful planning and resources. This can be done by limiting the energy use and materials through the product redesign, using renewable materials as much as possible, and developing ecologically sensitive purchasing policies. While designing the process, identification of the sources of waste that it exposes to, what can be eliminated and what will happen if it fails to eliminate, all these must be kept in mind before implementing it. Further, for the already existing processes where the waste is already being generated, efforts should be made for the safe disposal techniques. That what are the new techniques of processing this or disposal that should be taken and adopted. So, the further processing techniques should be adopted, which are cleaner technologies, so that the waste is not discharged into any environment, whether it is the air or the soil or water bodies. The industry must be sensitive also towards the health of their staff members and take remedial measures in case of adversity immediately. Further, what the industry should do is awareness workshop in the nearby area should be conducted on regular basis to make the general public living around that area about what type of harm can be there in case of any accidental leaks, and then how to take the first aids and how to handle that particular situation. These also is very, very important. If you recall, in the light of the Bhopal gas tragedy and the other events and the case studies that we have studied, had this information or the awareness given to the people, we could have saved some lives. If we talk about some examples like cement industry, what better practice can be adopted? There can be manufacturing of green cement. Green cement is considered to be eco-friendly. During its manufacturing, less or even negligible amount of carbon dioxide is released. It also has high functional capacity and coal and petroleum are primary fuels in the manufacturing of cement, which are non-renewable resources, and these can be replaced by other fuels so that they can be reserved for future generation. Talking about sugar industry, in sugar industry the furnaces must be upgraded in which bagasse is used as a fuel. There should be use of wastewater treatment plants, and air pollution control equipments should be there to maintain the quality of air and water around the mills. The wastewater should be recycled instead of just released as such in the nearby water bodies. Recycling of condensates and cooling water helps in minimizing the water pollution. Coming to the distillery, again this is our responsibility to protect environment, therefore people should be made aware to avoid the excess consumption of alcohol. It should be used only in a positive manner like in medicines and as some food preservatives, so that there is less production of this alcohol and eventually there will be less environmental pollution which is created. So, this will limit the alcohol manufacturing and also control the pollution caused by it. Also, in order to overcome ill effects and to reduce the cost of the effluent treatment, it is good to convert the distillery waste into compost by means of biocomposting. The government has notified environmental standards for the distillery sector under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. The government is also encouraging the distilleries to achieve zero discharge of effluent. So, that all will be helping in saving the environment around these industries. Another industry that I will like to mention is the paper and pulp industry. The waste paper from paper industry can be recycled or reused. The suspended solids in paper mills, they can be removed by sedimentation so as to reduce the water pollution, and this process of sedimentation will result in the settling down of particles under the impact of gravity, and then they can be removed from the base of the tanks. The chlorine containing bleaching agents, they can be replaced by other pulp bleaching agents which are comparatively environmental friendly like hydrogen peroxide, ozone and oxygen. So, after knowing what can be the better industrial practices, let us now look at some of the steps which have been taken by government for improving industrial processes. And especially here, first of all, I will like to mention some of the steps which have been taken by Government of India for prevention and control of pollution in India. The Ministry of Environment and Forest formulated a policy for abatement of pollution which provides multi-pronged strategies in the form of regulations, legislations, agreements, fiscal incentives and other measures. Over the years, the thrust has shifted from curative measures to prevention and control through adoption of clean and low waste technology, reuse and recycling, natural resource accounting, environmental audit and human resource development. An eco-mark label has been introduced to put on consumer products that are environmental friendly. Submission of an environmental statement by polluting units seeking consent either under the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974 or the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981 or both, and the authorization under the Hazardous Waste, that is Management and Handling Rules 1989, has been made mandatory through a gazette notification in April 1993 under the Environment Protection Act 1986. Environmental audit ensures cost-effective compliance of laws, standards, regulations and company policies, etc. As a part of the industrial pollution abatement through preventive strategies, financial assistance is being provided for establishment and running of waste minimization circles in clusters of small scale industries, capacity building in the areas of cleaner production, establishment of demonstration units in selected industrial sectors, etc. The program is being funded through National Productivity Council, which has pioneered in the activity. A network of 295 ambient air quality monitoring stations covering around 90 towns to cities all over the country, they have been set up by Central Pollution Control Board in coordination with the state pollution control boards or the pollution control committees and other institutions for carrying out regular monitoring. Under the National Air Quality Monitoring Program, which is abbreviated as NAMP, 4 air pollutants, that is sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, suspended particulate matter and respirable suspended particulate matter, they have been identified for regular monitoring at all the locations. Besides this, additional parameters such as respirable lead and other toxic trace metals and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are also being monitored in the 7 metro cities of our country. The MEF is facilitating and coordinating controlling of vehicular pollution in the field of the concerned ministries and its associated bodies or organizations, including the Ministry of Surface Transport, the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Ministry of Industry, in areas such as upgradation of automobile technology, improvement in fuel quality, expansion of urban public transport system and promotion of integrated traffic management, etc., to name a few. The Central Pollution Control Board, which is an autonomous body of MEF, was set up in September 1974 under the provisions of Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. It coordinates the activities of state pollution control boards and the pollution control committees and also advises the central government on all matters concerning the prevention and control of environmental pollution. So, collectively CPCB, SPCBs and PCCs, they are responsible for implementing the legislation, regulations and guidelines relating to prevention and control of pollution. They also develop rules and regulations which prescribe the standards for emissions and effluents of air and water pollutants and as well as noise levels. CPCB also provides technical services to the ministry, that is MEF, for implementing the provisions of the Environmental Protection Act 1986. And if we talk about, let us take one state government, like if we talk about Delhi government, some of the steps which have been taken in the recent years by various Delhi governments to reduce the pollution in Delhi, they are like pollution checking by transport department. There are mobile enforcement teams which are being deployed on regular basis at road location for prosecution of polluting vehicles and vehicles which do not have the pollution under control certificates. There are public awareness campaigns which are conducted to raise social consciousness on the issue, and they educate motorists about the health hazards, statutory provisions and control measures. For example, the engine tuning is required and there should be maintenance regularly done. Then talking about catalytic converters, since April 1995 only those 4-wheeled petrol driven vehicles are registered on first sale in Delhi which are fitted with catalytic converters. If we talk about mass rapid transport system, mass rapid transport system is being constructed with the objective to place a non-polluting, efficient and affordable rail-based mass rapid transit system for NCT of Delhi, duly integrated with other modes of transport. And as an outcome, you already are familiar with the metro rail, which is so much effective in reducing the pollution. Coming to another point, which is phasing out old commercial vehicles. This again is the step taken by Delhi government with a view to reduce vehicular pollution. In Delhi, Honorable Supreme Court vide its order in CWP number 13029 of 1985. Supreme Court has banned the plying of the following categories of vehicles in Delhi, that is more than 15 years old commercial or transport vehicles, autos and taxis driven on conventional fuels, and diesel driven city buses. Tightening of mass emission standards for new vehicles has also been put up in place. Mass emission norms for new vehicles were introduced in the year 1991. Subsequently, these norms have been tightened for new vehicles in all categories in 1996 and later in 2000. At present, only vehicles except 2 and 3 wheelers complying with Bharat Stage 3 or Euro 3 emission norms and 2 and 3 wheelers complying with Bharat Stage 2 Euro 2 emission norms are being registered in Delhi. Improvement in fuel quality. The quality of the fuel being supplied in Delhi has been significantly improved during the recent years by the use of leaded petrol. It was completely phased out. Introduction of low sulfur diesel, it was introduced in 1997, reducing the sulfur content significantly. The quality of petrol being supplied to Delhi has been improved further by reduction of sulfur content to 0.015% and benzene content to 1%. But in spite of all these measures, because the number of vehicles are increasing day by day, again we have reached to a situation where some new measures need to be taken to control this vehicular pollution as well. Talking about another step, there is a charter on corporate responsibility for environmental protection, that is CREP. In March 2003, the Ministry of Environment and Forest has launched the Charter on Corporate Responsibility for Environmental Protection. The purpose is to go beyond the agreement of regulatory norms for prevention and control of pollution through various measures such as minimizing of waste, in-plant process control and adoption of clean technologies. It has set targets for conservation of water, energy, recovery of chemicals, reduction in pollution, elimination of toxic pollutants, process and management of residues that need to be disposed of. For example, if we consider the steps to be taken under CREP for tannery sector, the processes are there where all the chrome tanning units in the country will have the chrome recovery plant and use the recovered chrome in the tanning process. Similarly, there is a waste minimization measure, and this is formed in all the clusters of tanneries in the country in order to adopt clean technologies. Further, reduction of water consumption in tannery units. All the tanneries, they have to install water meters and flow meters to measure the actual consumption and the waste water discharge. And there are various other measures which are taken at governmental level and by various NGOs working who are putting efforts to make this a cleaner place. But much more effort is required, and those efforts will be best if they come from every individual also. So, dear students, let us now summarize what we have learnt in this module. The Industrial Revolution, as we are aware, gave birth to significant contribution to the environmental pollution. We cannot control the environmental pollution generated by nature itself, like by volcanoes, landslides, etc., but we must take serious initiative to control the pollution caused by human beings. So, in this module, we learnt about some of the environmental friendly practices and industrial processes which play significant role in the control of industrial pollution. And most important is that we as individuals must feel responsible and sensitive towards ensuring clean environment. You yourself must try to enforce the 3 R's, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. You should also try to work towards creating environmental friendly awareness for others, and this is the best way to save our earth. And that is the ultimate role of this entire paper of environmental chemistry, that as chemistry student having this knowledge, now when you go for job and or in otherwise in society using your chemistry knowledge, you should be trying your best to save our environment.